This is a TLDR tier list for next week's mutation. This is based on solo play because your ally is a random factor that cannot be accounted for. Also, this is based on above average co-op knowledge. Mechanical skill is not that important in co-op. Adjust these rankings based on your own knowledge and skill level. Alright, so for this mutation, Just Die is the biggest mutator here because this means that you have to spend a lot more time defending each lane, which means that if you're fighting something like pattern A, you're going to have to split your army a lot sooner and for a lot longer. Normally what you can do is like you take care of one side, and then if you have quick mobility, then you go to the other side. But with Just Die, Life Leech, and Barrier, all things that keep the enemies alive longer, it takes longer for each commander to take care of one side, which means that you need a lot of firepower and survivability in order to stay alive so that you can actually take out the enemies. And of course, enemy comp matters. So if you get a really difficult one, you might just get rolled over. So let's start with Stukov. Stukov is still pretty good. Tanks wreck ground, and then Diamondbacks they wreck little guys with their AoE plus slow. If you're fighting heavy air like Free of the Matriarch, you have plenty of time to get Liberators before the big guys hit. So before the big guys hit, you can use your Diamondbacks and pull them down. That should be good enough. And you have Infest Structure, which is a great stall, call down. And your top bars are pretty good as well. Alexander can take air units so that you don't even have to fight them. And Apocalypse, pretty good on ground, except against like Immortals, which will wreck them. So overall, he is pretty good. And enemy comp, preferably ground, but air is not that bad. Tychus, super good. He's an OP dude. He can use Vega, steal big things. You can use Grenade to take care of wave, pull back, and then grenade him again. Sirius works against anything that's not Immortals, so you can stall, you can fear them, etc. Sam can use a stun, and you can even use like Cannonball for the last guy. If you use Rattlesnake, you can like stall an entire lane just with Cannonball and a healing stick. So very good. Dahaka, another OP dude. Pack leaders on one side, creeper hosts on the other. You may want to mix in some primal hosts. Depending on what the enemy is, you may want like Guardians or Mutalisks. If they're not that strong, you can even use Tyrannosaurs. But overall, he doesn't really care about enemies. He can just eat bio units, stay alive longer, and he does a lot of damage. Manx. So Manx's problem is that it takes a while to get going. So like the most important part of this game, this mutation, this map is the 9 to 11 minute waves, the mid game, and they hit really hard. So they're going to hit really hard on both sides. And Manx, if he's not fighting a favorable comp, he doesn't have time to get ESOs. So you can't just say ESO everything. He doesn't have the money to get that many ESOs because you just got saturated. You maybe have like 4 or 5 bunkers on each side, but because you have to split your army, the enemies may break your bunkers. So you need a lot of guys repairing, and if you don't survive that, you might actually just die. Once you get to the mid game, you have some ESOs, you can take out their barriers before they get close, maybe even their first life, then it gets a lot easier. But if you can't survive until then, you're kind of screwed. Same with Abathur. Because of Just Die, it's hard for him to get his Brutalists and later on some Swarm Hosts. It takes some time. So if you're fighting a comp that doesn't give a lot of biomass, like Terran comps, or if you're fighting like heavy hitters like Immortals that hits his Brutalists and destroy them, it's gonna be really hard to get the snowball going. Zeratul, he's one of the OP guys. He has so many cooldowns to deal with strong units. So Serdeth Legion takes out all the big 3 supply or more units. You have Avatar, which demotes the big guys into smaller guys. You have your super powered DTs, which have extra lives and just cleaves through everything. You also have crowd control with stuns and slows and stuff. So he has everything. Same with Stetman. Well, he doesn't have so much crowd control, but Stetman's Lings just stay and stall for so long that you don't really care what enemy comp you fight. You just shoot Igor, back up, wait for the barrier to go away, shoot another one, and you can add like Ultralisks or Corruptors depending on what you're fighting. Add Hydras if you're fighting air. Doesn't really matter. He's just the usual mindless F2A. Alarak is pretty good because Alarak has Ascendants and Wrathwalkers. You can use your Mothership to hold on to the early game, so he survives the 9 to 11 minute mid game fairly well with his overcharges plus he has 2 hero units as well, so really good. Nova. Nova's not the best here. Just she's not up here just because airstrike is usually what you use to take out a lane, and when you have just die, then they have a second life. So you have to split your army well, and you have to be able to deal with them. You have to be able to deal with both sides, like either with split army or like Nova airstrike one side, Liberators on the other, and you have to control that pretty well. If you're fighting air, like carriers and stuff, they don't die to an air. Sometimes I think battle cruisers don't die to. They don't die to an airstrike as well. So any heavy air, you're gonna have to unsiege. And with life leech, they keep draining you, so they're gonna stay alive just a little longer each time. And liberators against air don't deal a ton of damage, so you're gonna have to fight a little bit longer than usual, and that may cause problems during the mid game. If you're fighting like a ground comp, then you'll be fine, but still you may have to plan your teleports to make sure that you're not out of position. Use E-base to stall so that you can take care of one side before taking care of the other. Karax is really enemy comp dependent, so if you're fighting a comp that hits too hard, it becomes difficult to survive the mid game. So just like the other ones, they have 2 lives and a barrier. You're gonna spend a lot of shots just like hitting barriers that don't matter, or they have a second life. If you use P1, you can kind of camp in the middle, but things like Immortals will ruin your day. So yeah, the mid game, again, you don't have enough stuff and you have to fight multiple attack waves from both sides. Very hard. Raynor, man, Raynor, you have to fight a weak comp. If you fight a weak comp, then you can at least like, if you fight Devouring Scourge, it's actually really easy, but if you fight anything else, maybe a little less, not so easy. I think you can use like biomech with vultures and fight against like Shadow Disruption, so he can at least face more than one comp. I think if you're good, you can also like spawn camp Masters and Machines or something, spawn camp most of the ground units, but if there are any air units, then that's not gonna work. So assuming random comp, he's not gonna have a good time against most enemies. Artanis pretty much has to fight classic infantry. If you're not fighting classic infantry, you're kind of screwed. So he's really bad on this map. The mid game is really rough because if the enemy has too much HP and you have to split your army as well, it's no good. Han and Horner, I think, can fight multiple comps. I think someone beat this against Shadow Disruption, and I think I beat it against classic infantry. Actually, I don't remember it exactly, but the good thing is that strike fighters, they take out 1 life for many units, and they trigger the barrier with their fire, so that by the time they get to you, they don't have the barrier anymore, and sometimes don't even have a second life. So yeah, you can also get BCs later to deal tons of damage, so that even if they have life leech, you just overpower them. But Magmines, of course, you can kill like the airwaves. You can also spawn camp with Magmines if you know the timings. Zagara is all right. It takes a while to get the bio launcher set up. Just Die and Barrier both mean that a lot of Banelings are wasted because you're not dealing actual damage to the units. You're just hurting the barrier or the extra life, or that the Just Die units, when they're reviving, they're invincible. So then they body block you, and some of your Banes might die because it's basically you're fighting a force field, and the guys behind the guys you just killed will get to shoot your Banes for free. So you're gonna keep bleeding units unless you have good control. Swan, so I know I keep saying Swan sucks against Immortals, which is true if you go for like towers and you're fighting Immortals, then you're gonna die. If you're going for Wraiths and you're fighting Immortals, you might actually be okay because Towering Walkers doesn't fight air very well. However, one thing that I guess I should mention as well is that if you're fighting AoE, like storms, archons, vipers, those will kill you. And if they have a second life, they will have full energy after they revive, and they will cast those spells on you again. Swan without a critical mass of wraiths, if he only has a handful of wraiths, they don't actually deal quite enough damage. And combined with the you are spending more time fighting on one side, you're gonna need buildings to stall the other side. And if you're fighting immortals, they will break your buildings. So you need like factories to stall, but they can still power through so fast. And you can't teleport across, you have to fly back. So, oh yeah, and immortals don't hit air, which means that they will hit the temple if they have nothing else to hit. So, yeah, I just still don't think Swan's that good unless you're fighting a weak comp. Kerrigan also not very good. If you're fighting ground, P1 lurkers actually pretty good, but if you're fighting anything else, then it's a lot harder. Against Terran, like the difference between classic infantry and masters and no machines of war was huge. So machines of war, they don't have detection until the late game, but once it got to the late game, one science vessel like made things so much more difficult. So yeah, and they have 2 lives, so it's a lot harder. It really depends on enemy. Phoenix, Just Die air units can be rough because Caldalis can clear all the units on the ground, but if the air units keep draining life with their life leech, your Mojo, Warbringer, and stuff, Kalarian's later, so yeah, your Mojo, Warbringer, and Talus aren't gonna deal that much damage. So hopefully fight a ground comp. Phoenix Dragoon Suit can help, but you don't have to ult for every single wave. And then Vorazun. Vorazun goes here as well because Time Stop is a good spell. Kills everything, but air, Just Die plus air, it's like you can black hole, but you can't black hole all the time. And if they get to attack, they will drain life back from you, and your Corsairs don't deal a whole lot of damage. So yeah, you really need a good number of Corsairs before you can actually kill things fast enough. You also have to go to the other side of the map. So like if you're fighting pattern B, they can all like group up or something, one huge wave. But if it's pattern A, you're fighting on both sides. Yeah, you better fight against Terran, basically. All right. That's it for this tier list. You can extrapolate this info to your duel runs. Good luck with the mutation.